Geek Frost. Hi, my name is Anna and I'm a singer.
Hi, my name is Peyton and I am a dancer.
And today, what are we doing today?
Today, we are back with another episode of Kingdom Reactions. This week to episode 7?
Yes.
And the first set of collaboration stages, the rap and dance units.
In case y'all missed the explanation for the round in last week's episode, basically what's happening is the third challenge is split into two sections, and the first section is collaboration stages. So they were like divided into two teams. So the team that seems to be doing their performances first is iKON, SF9, and the boys. And the second team is BTOB, Stray Kids, and ATEEZ. This week, we're watching the rap and dance performances like Peyton said. But before we get into that, our disclaimers as usual. Oh, should I say it?
You're up first.
Oh, okay, right. I'm up first. So first, if you watched our video from last week where we did like a halfway point check-in, we explained our whole copyright situation that's been going on and gave y'all some homework and asked for your input on how we should try to like fix editing so that we don't get our reactions blocked anymore. So this week we're going to try keeping our reaction to the performances in the video on YouTube, but it's gonna like jump cut in between the performance to when we say something interesting, and the video will be semi-transparent and mirrored. Cross your fingers and hope that we don't get blocked and that this video stays on YouTube.
Again, thank you to everyone who did their homework and who gave us feedback. It was really helpful because we make these videos for you all, and so we want to make sure that we're getting your input for how we're moving forward. There was some mixed feedback. We were made aware that Patreon has a free version or like a free aspect to it, but we did a little bit of research and it seems like there's a certain threshold that you have to meet, like there are associated fees, things like that. So we're still looking into it, but we also received quite a bit of feedback that people would really prefer to leave the videos in some form on YouTube. And since that's our primary only platform, we also want to leave them on YouTube. So we're gonna try this. Again, fingers crossed it works. If it doesn't work, we'll reevaluate, try something else next week. Thank you all for sticking with us. Second disclaimer, as always, we have not watched the full episode, so we don't have like the backstories to explain the concepts, the stages. The stages should speak for themselves. However, we have seen enough to know who the evaluation panel is, and we're sort of sitting here like, what do we do now? Because if you have ever watched other videos on our channel, you know we love Super Junior. I love Leah Kim.
I love any song.
Monotree. Yeah.
Yeah.
Any song. But yeah. We'll watch the full episode after the reaction.
And then, as always, we watch the performances in performance order, and we don't pause the video. It'll look like we do in this, but we're not. It's just the jump cuts.
And then, as always, timestamps down below. Y'all know the drill. Let's
go!
go!
Alright, so first performance for the collaboration stages is called Full Dash with the S and the H capitalized, and it's by the first team, ATEEZ, which consists of iKON's Bobby, SF9's Hyung, and the boys' Sunwoo. So let's go!
I'm so excited. This is Show Me the Money and 2 seasons of High School Rapper. Oh, the filter.
You know what I just thought? They should have had English subtitles, yeah, at least.
Yeah, I'm trying to like watch this bottom.
잠깐만. Did he 욕해 earlier? Because it suddenly got silent. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, there are a lot if you listen. Yeah.
Oh.
He's having so much fun.
His hair is just... Do
they have matching shoes?
Yeah, that's really cute.
The vibe is really good.
그냥 노는 거야. Okay, the thing is, trios are always really powerful.
Oh!
Oh?
He took both mics.
Ah. Oh.
I feel a little like I'm watching Show Me the Money.
조금. They're saying 너나 잘하세요, which is like, I just think it's really funny that it's in 존댓말. Oh.
What?
That's cute. Aww. Aww.
we are going to preface this comment section with the fact that neither of us are rappers, and we fully admit to that. So when it comes to things like rap technique, we are not experts. We are not claiming to be experts. However, I feel like we both watched enough K-pop and enough like rap shows to recognize like good rapping, and also to sort of know the things that you look for, like the gestures, the flow. So we're gonna try to do the best we can, everyone, but just remember, we're not rappers. This is not like talking about a dance or a song. That being said, in terms of recognizing good rapping, wow, this was really powerful. Anna made the comment during our reaction, if it got left in, about how trios are really powerful. But also, the stage presence that the three of them has is really crazy. Like, they're performers that stand out in their own groups for stage presence, so to put them all on a stage together, it's like, wow. And you can also tell that this was a very on day. Like, performers have on days and off days, where even if they do a good performance on an off day, it might just be like, oh, I could have done better, but like, oh my gosh, this was definitely an on day. We don't watch the show before we do these reactions, but Mnet puts out like the cute clips and stuff throughout the week, and we both saw their first meeting, and they were so cute, first of all. But also, I feel like you can really tell that from that meeting to this performance, they got a lot closer, because there is a connection and an awareness between them while they're on stage and while they're performing, and they're playing off of each other. And you can really only do that with someone that you feel like comfortable with. Like, if you're awkward with someone, you can tell that on stage, like you can't really hide it. But then in terms of like, I guess like a rap thing that people talk about a lot are gestures. And that's sort of a performance thing, that's sort of a dance thing, right? But I just felt like their gestures were really good, and I think that if you watch each of them individually, then you can tell like their own distinct rap styles come through, and that shows through their gestures as well, like what sorts of gestures they're making when they're choosing to like emphasize something with their body. But they've also found like a good place to mesh all of their styles together. But honestly, they just looked like they were having such a fun time. It's gonna get cut a lot because of how we're having to do this reaction. I don't know, I wasn't watching Anna, but I was going like this like the whole time. I was like, yeah, like this is awesome. And as someone who doesn't listen to a lot of straight rap music, that's like something that proves that it's like really enjoyable and really entertaining, because I don't usually listen to stuff that's like this. So, but that's really all I can say. I don't have much more to say. Anna's turn.
Hello, it's time for my comments, and I think it's really funny how you ended it by saying, like, as someone who doesn't listen to straight rap a lot.
I know.
And then now it's time for me.
Someone who does.
Kind of random, but like one thing that we wanted to say that I'm sure everyone probably has figured out by now is that the performance is called Full Dash, which is a very not subtle way to cover up, censor the actual name for that they probably wanted for the song, which is, can I say it? We'll beep it out because this is a family-friendly channel. Fuck that shit.
Which is what it sounds like when they say it.
Korea broadcasting laws. You gotta do what you gotta do.
Yeah, because they beeped out Bobby's other cursing.
Yeah. Alright, anyways. The bass is really heavy and it's like kind of the focus and really punchy, but like them performing is like really bouncy. I don't want to say bouncy, but it is kind of bouncy because they're just like really hyped. And also, I'm gonna say one thing that Peyton wanted to say that she didn't get to say is that Bobby specifically plays around with the beat a lot, and that's something that he really enjoys doing. I agree, and he does that in this too. Just like small moments for each member in this performance now. Onto Hyung. When he first started the performance and it was auto-tune, I was like, oh my gosh, he's using auto-tune. I don't know, one thing I wanted to mention was like, especially for Hyung, I was like really excited for this performance for him because compared to, especially Bobby, obviously, but also compared to Sunho, he's had less opportunity to like showcase rap skills and just like straight rap performances, because most SF9 songs aren't super rap heavy, whereas like Bobby with iKON and also being on Show Me the Money and just being the rapper that he is, and then Sunho, the boy songs do have a lot more rap sections than SF9 songs do typically, and Sunho did showcase them very well. Like, it was fun to see because it was like, he's a great performer and is like what I expected, like with his facials and everything, but you could also tell like we knew he's a Bobby fanboy, and you could tell that he was really excited for this performance. And they were each sort of showcasing different colors performance-wise. Bobby was just like the playful, having a good time, enjoying himself that he usually is. Hyung was the more like serious side, and then Sunwo's was more like sort of in between that. So I think it was interesting to like see those three sides in the performance.
Do you know what was fun about this, I think, for both of us?
What?
Hyung is your SF9 bias.
Yes.
Sano is whatever we consider
him for you, the voice. And we both just love Bobby.
And we both just love Bobby. So this was a great performance for us.
Oh. So yeah, hopefully our comments made sense, but it's rap. So we already let y'all know that this is gonna be awkward. They're great performers, great ad-libs, cool. Next!
Alright, so for the second rap performance that we will be watching today, it is the other team, and they're using Team Mayfly, and it is BTOB's Minhyuk, STRAYKIDS, Bangchan, Changbin, and Han, so Sriracha, and ATEEZ's Hongjung, and they're performing Welcome Nori. Welcome Nori. Close enough. This will be fun. Let's go.
They're all wearing white.
Yeah. I had a feeling this was going to be a lot more like choreographed.
Yeah. Also just because there's more of them. The beat is more like old school, but also they're using a traditional instrument in the background. Oh,
something changed.
The bass is really ominous right now.
Oh,
I really like the background on the screens.
Oh, with all the colors.
Yeah, because it's watercolors.
Oh
my gosh, it's each of them.
I mean, and they're all, like, in all of their lyrics, they're referencing, like, painters.
Yeah. 미쳤다.
Is the Aussie gonna rap all in English?
Oh my god. Spelling color with a U. Sorry, right, we don't do that in America. Sorry, we're American. I was gonna say, we haven't seen Minhyuk yet. Oh, the dancer's gloves have the colors on the hands.
That was...
I knew it. I was like, he's gonna come out in a moment.
Wow.
What's the name of this again? Oh. Oh?
Oh, it's like literally an explosion of color.
Oh, like 축제. Oh yeah, and the lyrics too.
Yeah.
They're all like centered around their 형님.
Oh.
That's what I was thinking.
Once again, in case you're skipping around and this is the first comment section that you're seeing, we just wanted to make sure everyone knows we are not rappers. When it comes to talking about like technical aspects of rap, we are not experts on that. We can't really do it. We have both watched enough K-pop and then also just like hip-hop shows and like rap shows that we know certain things to look for, like flow, gestures, like how you're like riding the beat. But like, we're not going to pretend to be experts on this. So we're just going to try and point out a couple of things that like stuck out to us from our perspectives. One of the first things that jumped out to me about this, like when you're comparing the two stages, because it's a unit competition. So when you're comparing the two units, this feels a lot more like a K-pop stage versus like a rap, like cypher stage. This feels like an end of the year show, if that makes sense. And like one of the main reasons behind that is that this really has more of a noticeable concept, obviously. So the name of the song, Welcome Nori, playing with paint, the whole stage, like there's different ways that they're showing that and showing like the playing with the different color. They literally have the canvases. Changbin's painting at one time, he like flicks the paint at the glass screen. Minhyuk comes in with the brush, which I'll bring up again later. And then at the very end, there's like the explosion of colors. It reminded me of like those festivals where you have like the dry paint that like you're throwing in the air and like you come out like covered in them. And so because it has that more like concept, and also it was choreographed, like there were actual choreographed sections to it, which also just makes sense because there's 5 of them, and 5 compared to 3, like it might not seem like that big of a number, but it is. Like you have more people on stage that you're trying to feature, and so you have to have it be more set in your choreography. That being said, like I still enjoyed the stage a lot. I was still like bouncing around. Something else though that I really enjoyed was how the whole vibe of the stage changed when Minhyuk came in. And let us all be very clear. This was not Minhyuk. This was Huta. This is his rap personality. Like, if you are not a BTOB fan, look him up. But I just thought it was really interesting because you really felt like throughout the whole performance, we kept pointing out like, oh, I feel sort of ominous. And I kept waiting for him to come out because I was like, something's gonna change. And then we were right. Like eventually, like the whole stage, it felt like it closed in around so you could only focus on him. And then he walks out and looks super powerful. But I also thought it was fun, like a little bit funny because he has the traditional script brush over his shoulder, the big one, and he's walking, and on the floor they're like painting. But I also thought that the way that they had divided the other 4 up into 2 and 2 was really interesting because it allowed their individual rap styles to show through more. Changbin and Hongjung have different rap styles, whereas like Changbin and Han are a lot more used to playing off of each other, and so they blend a little bit more. And then like Chan and Han, they also have different rap styles, and obviously Chan was rapping in English, so I felt like even though there's more of them, it allowed them to stand out because their different rap styles were distinct from their partner. And then another part that I thought was really funny that I just want to point out as like a throwaway comment was when Chan did his whole line in English, and there was like shh. It was the only part of his rap that was written in Korean, and it was like the shh, but it's very clearly like not. This was like a lot more upbeat and a lot brighter. I was having like a really good time watching it and like watching all of them interact on stage. They also have really good synergy as a group, which is very obvious from the teaser clips that Mnet was putting out too. So you can tell that when they're on stage together. Anna's turn.
Hello, so to start my comments, actually, I was thinking when you said that this one was more upbeat and brighter, I agree with brighter, but I would actually call the other stage more upbeat. Because like I said in the reaction, hopefully it didn't get cut out, the beat felt very like 90s hip-hop. It was more like chill, laid back. Yes.
I agree. I would like to rescind my statement. Not upbeat, just brighter.
Yeah, brighter. Like just from like the colors of the stages too. I mean, this one was literally super colorful because of their concept too. Anyway, I mentioned too how they mix it with the traditional as well. And I wonder how they came up with that concept of like the painting plus the traditional Korean elements. Because of that, they like used the screens again, like how BTOB did. They used it again, and it was cool how they used it for like the different stage pictures. It kind of like closed off to start a new scene, a new section, I guess. And that's also when you would hear like the ominous sound. And that was like really good foreshadowing too. Because like before that, I was just like, oh, okay, this is like a vibe. And then the bass came in and I was like, what's going on? And then it didn't happen. It was just like Han and Chan's part then. And then it happened again and I was like, is it coming out now? And then like eventually you got Seminhyuk's entrance. But also because they were combining it with the more traditional instruments and it was like a brighter vibe, the beat itself was a lot more melodic. Like the bass, the ominous sort of bass line that you hear was like moving between different pitches as well. Another one of my comments, it kind of overlaps with one of yours though. So when you started saying it, I was like, Peyton! Because this is like 5 people versus 3 people, I was wondering how they were going to do all their solo highlight moments, but it worked out well. And also you mentioned the duos and the pairings, because yes, it highlighted their individual styles more, but also like, yes, it's fun to like feed off of each other's energy, but it is kind of like a trick that you'll see very often in like larger K-pop groups, just like Super Junior 17, where they'll like have a lot of moments where it's 2 people and they'll like go back and forth, or they'll be doing it at the same time, so it makes you feel like they're having more screen time than they actually might be having. Last thing was like for the traditional concept, I mentioned at the end, it's like the whole party festival sort of thing. They're saying like the old school phrases that you would hear, like the 얼씨구 절씨구 sort of thing. But yeah, this was fun. Next! Now it is time for the dance collaboration stages, and the first one that we're watching is from the It's One team again. The performance is titled Wangwabi, and then the members in it are iKON's Donghyuk, DK, SF9 Taeyang, and then 더보이즈 Truyeon. So let's go! I can tell this one is gonna be like traditional Korean style. Do they all do their hair like that?
Yeah. Oh no. Taeyang has short hair.
Wow, this is like super into the concept.
Wow. Facials.
Oh.
If only I read Hanja.
Right, we need to say things. Oh. Oh no. What happened?
What's happening?
Well, someone died.
Yeah.
Their clothes changed. Are they going to take revenge or something? Oh, that was cool.
I'm gonna say yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is letting them each show off their like individual styles.
Oh.
Is it like how they're each dealing with the death?
Maybe? Oh, chimes.
And the filter on the camera sort of got like...
brighter.
Each section of this, like, performance, they've showed like a different emotion.
What's in their hands?
They didn't get close enough to their hands.
Why did you show their hands? Wow. Okay, so unlike our typical comment sections, I will be going first this time because since this is a dance-specific round, I don't have a lot to say. I already knew that going in. So our resident dancer, Peyton, has more to say, therefore she will be going second. We're just getting mine out of the way really quickly. So first thing I'm going to say is, for anyone who doesn't know, we already had kind of speculated but like weren't completely sure. The Hanja, like the Chinese characters, so Wang is king and then Pi, that stands for Wangbi, which is the king's wife, like the queen. So knowing that makes the story of the stage make so much more sense because the person who is killed in the performance is the queen, and we can see, I guess, through the story like the different stages of grief and like they are getting revenge like we thought. But yeah, going in, I already knew I wasn't gonna have a lot to say for dancing because I don't dance. But I can say like facials. Wow. One that really stuck out to me is in the performance I literally said, facials! When you get a close-up of Song Hyuk's face for that one where he's like, I think he was down and then he like looks up and it's like really close, like through the hair a little bit too. Oh my god. Also another thing that for the stage was they used not just props, but also like the LED screens a lot to create the setting. Like some of the effects that were happening, I kind of commented on it too, like the timing for those effects was really good and the way that they adjusted, like I mentioned, like the complete stillness of Taeyang in that moment. But yeah, I'm really curious as to how they chose this concept because I get like kingdom, but I've also just noticed for a lot of the kingdom stages, not just this one, a lot of the groups have been choosing like combining with more traditional Korean elements, which I think has just been an interesting trend. Yeah, and like getting to hear the sort of music that you would hear in like a historical drama basically, but like the different interpretations for like the different emotions that you're feeling throughout the performance. So yeah, I feel like that's all I can really say. I was very enraptured by the story, so I'm glad I understand it more now. So Peyton's turn.
I like the comments that you were making and I was paying attention. I just want to clarify, I probably look like I'm over here like, because I'm just thinking about how I'm going to present my comments. Because this is like the dance round and they've obviously sent like the main dancers into this stage, like this trio. I will also say that when we were thinking about like who would be sent from each group, like this was a very clear choice from each group. But because this is the dance round, I'm going to be more technical. They are dancers. This is the dance showcase round. However, I'm also trying to balance like how technical should I be? How critical should I be? Also just like trying to explain small minute things is probably not a great use of time. So I'll try to like balance general versus specific. But first, so like Anna was saying, we understand the storyline a little bit more, like better now that we like checked on the Hanja, and that's really important for some of my comments and like the way that I'm interpreting this. At first, I was trying to decide like, are they three people? And showing how like they're each reacting to the same event. But I think I've actually settled on they're the same person because it's one queen. And also like what really sold me on this was that one moment when they're changing outfits and they like wrap up and they all wrap their hands around each other before it comes back down. And I was like, oh, so it's like three parts of the same person, like showing sort of like the different phases that you go through in grief. First thing I want to talk about, their emotional portrayal. And I mentioned this, but like it really changed with each scene, which makes sense because like they are obviously showing different stages of grief, and also like the music is changing, the set is changing, like the flower petals falling, it's showing like time passing too, so it makes sense. But what I wanted to expand on a little bit more is it's not just like facials, because yes, Anna was right, facials over the top, fantastic, but it's the way that they're changing their movement style and also the way they're holding their body that really stuck out to me. And one of the ones that really like popped out was at the end when it went back to the flower petals like dropping and it got a little bit brighter in the filter. The way they held themselves was like very different from the way they had been like just seconds before in their sort of individual highlight moments. Like it was giving that sort of feeling of lingering melancholy, and like there's a sentimental feeling to it, and it's sort of like, yes, you're moving on, but like you still are holding that pain. And the reason it felt that way, how do I say this without saying they hunched, because it's not that their posture was bad, but they were sort of in on themselves when they were doing this. Like the movement was focused more inwards, like you're sort of reflecting on a memory or something. And that really stuck out to me, the way that they went from this very like imposing strength to something that's a little bit more like, it's softer, it's a little bit more delicate. And in the same way, the different scenes and like how they both had group dancing and then also individual elements to it. They were also able to highlight their individual dance styles, and it felt like the group dancing that they were doing was a mashup of the styles that they then broke away and showed, which is really interesting given the fact that I'm interpreting this as they're one person showing like different sides of the same person. So when they're together, it's sort of the mix. I do just want to point out a couple of things that were like a little ashuo for me, like a little bit of like the first, as always, this is no surprise, so this won't take long. I just want them to point their feet, especially for the floor work that they were doing. There were a lot of moments where if their foot had just been pointed, the line would have continued. That's just like a really nitpicky thing, but again, I've seen Juyeon do it, I've seen Taeyang do it, and I'm sure that Donghyuk can do it too. Like, they all have the capability of doing this, so I'm very picky about this. But the thing that was probably like my biggest ashuo comment was just that there were moments in their unison where they weren't together. And it was like very obviously not together, which is fine in some types of unison because there are certain moments where like, yes, you might be dancing together, but you also are wanting to show your individuality. But for the way that I'm looking at the stage, this was them as the same person. So it should have been one movement, like they should have been exactly together. And there were just moments where their timing was a little bit off, or like someone did a move differently. Like I remember there was a moment where they pushed back and stood up, but one person like stepped into it instead of pushing back. And it just is moments like that that jump out and make it different. And so then if you're trying to portray the same person, it doesn't feel like the same person anymore. Moving on to a happy comment, because we always end this on a happy note. Something else though that really stuck out were the stage pictures, but in this instance, I would say that a lot of their stage pictures were actually moving. Like there's one really beautiful one that sticks out to me that was during Yu Taeyang's part with the sword, and he does like a barrel roll turn and he like swoops the sword and his outfit sort of like flies around, and it's just that like swirling of emotions, and it really stuck out to me. Also his like positioning in that turn was really beautiful, like the way he twisted his body and like let his head fall backwards into it. Oh, another one was right after the queen died and they're all on the ground and their arm is out, and it's just like that longing desperation. That one really got to me. I was like, oh, a little choked up here. I think the overall impression of the stage, for me at least, was that it's something that really is like gonna linger in my mind. Like they were very imposing in the way that they performed it, and so like it's going to stay with me for a while. Next! Alright, so for the last performance today, we are going to be watching the other team do their dance unit performance, Team Mayfly. So from BTOB, it is Peniel. From Stray Kids, it is Minho, Felix, and Ian. And then from ATEEZ, it is Seonghwa, Yuno, Yeosang, San, and Wooyoung. Also, they're doing Daewon Minyo, so they're doing EXO's Wolf. Let's just go!
Could it whoosh? They got whoosh.
I'm not gonna lie, when I saw the teaser, this definitely made me tear up a little bit as an EXO. I was like, oh my god!
A tree of life. Wow.
Oh, it's their recording of it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I need to remind myself to like actually
I know, I was just
comment.
singing.
Same. I was just mouthing the lyrics. I just did it again. I'm so sorry.
Ooh. I mean, they're referencing the original choreography a lot, obviously.
Yeah. I made it trendier here.
Oh. That's a really cool fall.
Was that Peniel?
Leash?
Yeah, for all of them.
Is he crumping?
It's just they made it a lot more like... How do I say this? I don't know. I can't find the word right now.
Ooh. I'm honestly a little shocked at how much of the original choreography is still in here. I think it's a really interesting decision. That's cool.
Why are his hands green?
Why is he green?
Oh, all the outfits have something like that?
Oh.
Oh, yeah. Climbing to Howl at the Moon. Oh.
Oh, that transition. Oh!
Oh? BTOB 형님 at the front again.
형님.
Well, yeah, their eyes.
The contacts, yeah.
Okay, so saying again, in case you've been skipping around through the comments using timestamps, because this is a dance-focused challenge, I'll actually be doing my comments first so that our resident dancer, Peyton, will have more time to actually, like, get into the nitty-gritty with comments later. That being said, I will start now. So I don't have as much to say. However, I do have more to say this time than with the last dance performance, just because of how the teams interpreted the challenge. And what I mean by that is, it seems like the previous team chose a concept and then they got music, made music to fit that concept. Whereas this team, it seems like they chose a song and then rearranged the song a bit to better fit a dance focus performance and like the style that they wanted. This is a specific song that I know very well what it sounds like, and I can comment a little bit on the arrangement. However, I'm not going to do it too much just because this challenge is focused on dance, not on how they rearranged a song. They kind of did it like a cover. They like had all the vocal parts and rap parts still in it. Obviously, they're not doing it live, which makes completely sense. I'm glad that they chose not to do it live so that they could focus 100% all of their energy into dancing, because that's what the challenge is. Talking about a few changes that they made to the song though, the original song already focuses on beats a lot, but they focused a lot more on adding like punchy bass synths, like that sort of stuff for more impactful moments. That way you could be more aggressive. The beginning of the song is essentially the same, really. It is just like exactly the same, but then as the song goes on, by the end, it's a lot more like aggressively EDM, kind of grungy. Another thing that they added was like the dance breaks in between the more like vocal sections. I was surprised by the dance breaks, what sort of beat that they chose for that. It was a lot more minimalistic than I expected for like what seems to have been such an aggressive concept and song. I keep saying aggression because like they're supposed to be wild wolves, so I feel okay saying that. The last thing that I wanted to say is like, I'm glad that they, with so many members, they were still able to like highlight a little bit for each person. Obviously, just because of like camera working, like in the group scenes as well, you'll see some people a little bit more than others, but they still tried their best to highlight each member individually. And then also like the facials. I mean, really aggressive. Now for Peyton to dive into her dance lecture. Let's go!
So yeah, again, if you're skipping around and you didn't watch the other dance comments, I promise I am listening to Anna. I'm also just thinking about how to deliver dance comments because I am going to be a little bit more technical since this is the dance challenge, but I'm also trying to balance like big picture things versus like small technical things because it's not necessarily a good use of time to go into all of those. But I was listening. I do agree with a lot of your comments, and actually some of the ones you said like free me up to say other things, so thank you. My first thing that I want to say is I wouldn't classify this as like an ashwiwo moment. I would say it's more of like a double-edged sword, and that's really just the amount of original choreography that was in this was honestly a little bit shocking to me. And like it goes back to what Anna was saying about how this challenge, like they just interpreted it differently. Like the other one was a lot more original choreography. This was more of like a cover, and then they had made changes to fit like the concept they were going for. So that's just a double-edged sword because this is very well-known choreography. Like Anna and I were singing the song, I was doing the dance with them, so people can be a little bit more nitpicky about it. But I would say one thing that they changed was their portrayal of like the wolf in it, and you kept saying aggression, and then you were like, and I feel okay saying that. No, like this is super aggressive. Like it's way more aggressive than the EXO version. Like the EXO version too is domineering, but they're also trying to be like a little bit more seductive with it and like, oh, like I'm protecting you, whereas this is literally like aggressive, like they're fighting. The second chorus, they have their prey there and they're like banging them on the ground like a wolf that's like dragging its prey away, or they've got the whole like fight for alpha dominance between like San and Felix, which I'll talk a little bit more about later. Because first I just want to highlight a few smaller changes that make it more aggressive. One is just, Anna was talking about, did you say like a punchier baseline? There's also just a lot more like punchiness in the dance. Like this sort of thing is in the original, but it's a little bit more like of a reverb moment, whereas the punchiness they were doing here was very much like hit and like you felt the impact even if they were just hitting the air because of the way their bodies were contracting their muscles. But like just some smaller changes in the original choreography too. Like in the first chorus, they do the beginning of it and then they like drop kick out to the side, and that's like a very aggressive moment. Then when Lino is in the center for like part 2 of the first chorus, there's usually a turn there, but they did more of like a barrel turn with like slicing claw movement. So it's just like small tweaks to the original in the choruses that they were adding that like make it a lot more aggressive. The crumping, obviously, like crumping, I don't want to say crumping itself is a very aggressive dance style because you can portray like different sorts of emotions through it, but crumping, it's a lot of power. And also crumping is something that Peniel is known for, so that was like his highlight moment. So a little bit more about the fight for dominance between Taesan and Felix. Although in my mind, I was like, oh, it's kind of like puppies playing in a park because it's Hani and Lixie. which like is not what they're going for. They obviously are also a lot more aggressive than that, but it's just the way that I view the two of them. But like it really did remind me of in a pack when someone's fighting for dominance, and it seemed like Felix was the one that was continually like fighting because then he jumps on Wooyoung later. The way that they were holding themselves, their shoulders were like a little bit more up and like forward, and then I really liked the moment where they came together and went backwards, because that takes a lot of like counterbalancing and a lot of trust in your partner, because they did it so quickly. Another moment that was like not anything on them, but I just wish had been a little bit different, was Wooyoung's Howl at the Moon was impactful, but I feel like it would have been a lot more impactful if we could see him from the side, yeah, at like the top of the tower instead of like the front angle, but that was just a camera work thing. At one point though, this is like probably my most technical comment, and it's one of the last ones I'm gonna make, when I was like, oh, the transition. I didn't mean the transition in the dance or the transition in the song. I quite literally meant the way their bodies transitioned from one position to the other. And I specifically saw it in Yeosang in the back just because of where the camera was. Like you could see more of his full body, but I'm sure that they all did it. But it's so cool because they're like sideways in a lunge and they've arched, and then they roll backwards through their body, but their hips rotated into second position. So they were like in an actual position. What I was worried about them doing was trying to turn their bodies forward but their legs not moving with it, because that happens a lot in K-pop dances, and then it like kind of is an awkward moment, but that was really satisfying for me. I was like, oh, that's so nice. But yeah, the other comments that I had, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on because Anna pointed them out, but obviously everyone had their chance to shine. Facials were over the top amazing, which I expected. So yeah, I think that's all I have to say, mostly because I also ran out of time.
All right, how do we end this video?
Awkwardly, as per usual. We have officially started the collaboration challenge for Kingdom, and we saw the rap and the dance units, which were just 4 like really amazing stages. They really all brought different sides of the groups and also gave the members a chance to highlight more individually what their specialties are, which is always fun to see when someone gets to fully focus on like their specialty. This week was a little bit more catered towards me because we got to see the dances, but next week we'll get to see vocals for Anna, and we both enjoyed the rap stages, obviously. But yeah, this is exciting.
As always, feel free to share your thoughts in the comments down below, whether you agreed with us, whether you disagreed with us. If you have anything to add, feel free to share it. But as always, we ask that you remember to stay kind, respectful, polite to the groups that are participating on the show, but also to each other. So that all being said, once again, hope you enjoyed. Like the video, turn on your notification bell, subscribe, all that jazz, and see you next week. Bye!